Hey, we're back. It's that way before we were talking about where's the wisdom gone. We're joined by Miss Frandelle Gerard, Dr. Christensen, Rocky Jackson, Richard. Hey, fight down in the comments. Shout out to Darren. You're here with us in spirit. So we're gonna jump in. We talked about the past, had a really interesting conversation. So we're gonna bring it to the present where we're really talking about where youth have lost that like sense of leadership by looking up and seeing nothing. So what I mean by that, we're talking about the impact of where elders stay silent in moments that demand courage and demand that steel. At the same time, we have youth raising youth in the absence of trusted guidance. I know Dr. Christensen, you shared some really interesting research and I liked it because it was very eye-opening because I if you told me that you did that a couple of years ago, I would still feel that it's different today this year.
Or it's worse. I think
Mhm.
it's a little worse than when we did it because it's at least 10 years ago or so
Gotcha.
that we and
Mhm.
it the thing about it is we were listening to the children. We were listening to the people that were experiencing
Mhm.
St. Croix, no, the Virgin Islands, really, and some of the things that have changed that don't allow them to express themselves. We're absent. The adults are absent. If you go to a game, you may see a couple of parents or something. We're not engaging our youth. And one of the things the children said was they'll be talked at,
Mhm.
they're not listened to,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it was an interesting this dialogue. We talked about everything from sex to cussing to whether there were opportunities here and education, the educational system, and so forth.
Mhm.
And it was very eye opening. And we had intended to move to have a larger conference, but the university actually took it and had their Man Up Come
Mhm.
Man Up
Mhm.
conference. Yeah. But
I'm gonna say something, and oftentimes my generation does stupid things. We really do. I can admit that myself. I did stupid things when I was
well,
a
we
kid.
all did.
Yeah, but
Supposed
And
to.
we've taken it to a new extreme.
no, no,
Crazy.
no. And one of the things that people always was saying in recent years, the children are different. The children are not different. They need the same thing that we used to get.
Mhm.
But we've kind of,
Mhm.
oh, they're smarter than we and this
Mhm.
whatever. And some people are afraid of their kids, as somebody said
Mhm.
earlier. But yeah, children are children and they need the same discipline. And in that discussion, the young people said they want the discipline. They want people to guide them.
So then, but
And it wasn't happening 10 years ago. And I think it's worse now.
it, one of the things I've noticed between my age and Mikey's age is that it seems as though we're more wild or more violent. But when I look at those above me, they've either allowed or
They do
encouraged
the bad examples.
terrible
The
examples.
terrible examples. The children are doing what they see,
So
saying what they hear.
you see, Mark, you doing. So we were having a conversation off camera about this, Mikey. And Dr. Christensen, I said I would ask you specifically, why is it that when we look at leadership or supervisors, we feel as though there's this active um, protection for either position or power? Uh, like I said before, most of the friction I've ever gotten in an employer-employee relationship has not been from a colleague or a contemporary around Mikey's age or my age. It's always been from someone above in leadership. Uh, Even when I went into the private sector, I still had that experience where there was a contract that was about to come my way from a very beloved member of our community, which I will not say who they are, but trust me, very beloved. And they tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mr. Dorsey, we'd love for you to do this project with us. Great. Just write me in for a couple $1,000 from the contract. I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
I didn't get the contract. And trust me and believe, if you know who it was, it would shock you. But I'm asking you specifically, Dr. Christensen, why do you see the continuance of laissez-faire, corruption, the twisting is almost like a barrier we can't get through, or we have to now subscribe and abide by it to get up higher. So, I've avoided it in my time. He's trying to climb the ranks as well. There's my fears that he too will be contaminated by that sentiment in order to get into higher position.
Wow. Some people are just very insecure and want to make sure that they hold on to where they are, and it's a crab in a barrel kind of a situation. I've had people when I was an assistant commissioner hiring people, and they want to know why I hiring the person, for one reason or another. And I think it's a bit of insecurity. They have a job, and they see perhaps some expertise coming from you. You've been better trained than they were, and they're just blocking you. But it's very yeah. That's not how elders are supposed to act. That's part of the problem, that our elders are taking that kind of stance against our younger people instead of encouraging them and bringing them up.
Then there's a secondary answer.
Rookie coming up.
It just
And
it's a group of youngsters went to school from go. Came to my camp, 15, 16. Brothers, you got to do it for yourself. Past 5 years. Right now, my grandson is in the States. He's working for Yaman up in top. When you go Maryland, he was the one shot down King of Palo. He went to America and he got a job doing that. He is the chief man over, the countries and tenant for. He's a man running and picking.
that happens to a lot of us. We come home and try to get a job, and
He picked 2 boys from you got up there. And next one in Texas, who came around alarm basic mechanic. He's now they're changing oil. They didn't finish school. So I say, look, if you learn a trade or a skill and you master it, you'll be okay. 4 bush mechanic fixing car, come from my camp. Didn't finish school. My problem is they are graduating 12 years of school. Playing basketball and can't find out. No skills. They are the corner. Nobody want to employ me. What you could do? Anything. I want to pick you up with anything. And this is the mass of them. Our education system have to get a guidance counselor now. And when the 11 and 10, 12 grades start to guide them children to a reality. Not to go in college. They have to go to college and they don't know the grades they're getting in college. They don't know that. We sign up to a school now. Our counselors, when I was going to school, find everything. What are you going to do?
You're supposed to graduate with the modern education outlook is that you graduate with a skill and a diploma, and you learn how to get along with people. Those 3 things. And I think it's written into maybe the board or something from the Board of Education that every child should graduate with a skill. Certified skill.
So working with young people, getting to Richard's question, imagine you come into a business or an organization like the government with your skill sets, right? You're state of the art. You're young, you're new, you got the new technology and understanding, methodologies to apply to the work. And your boss's boss got appointed by a governor because she or he was somebody, right? No skill sets in the field, but they have survived going up the ladder over 2-3 administrations because we have no civil, what's it called? Civil service system based on qualifications.
Right.
That was dismantled when he was governor, Farley, 1990, 91, with
Wow,
a
that time.
reorganization.
Wait, that existed?
Hello. The top, you could have eliminated the top two layers, commissioner and assistant commissioner, and everything was going to work because you
Yeah.
had qualified people based on their qualifications were hired in government. We now have 5 layers of administrative whatever, right? We're spending more money today in education to serve half the number of students from 10 years ago. That's okay. That math doesn't math, right? Okay. So now you're challenging because 1, you're qualified, 2, you're young, 3, you're innovative,
Yeah.
And-
change, they're not going to be able to
and
manage
change
system.
is not something they can handle.
Right.
Okay. So that's our reality. How do we now take your skill sets and those of your peers and activate the work independent of government to run a system parallel to government where you can lead the change? That's the position that we've been in for a long time. And if you really step back and you look at, the Rookie Jacksons, the St. Croix Foundations, all of the Women's Coalition, the Boys and Girls Clubs, Caribbean Center for Boys and Girls, and you look at all of these organizations that are doing the work that's supposed to be done by, that we think government is supposed to do, right? But they're able to proceed and keep going. It speaks to our system. So, and today, those organizations are now going to have to stand up in a way that's really going to be challenging because as the federal funds are sucked out, as our local government, which has not invested in these systems, who handles the homelessness shelters, who handles housing for the disabled and the elderly, tend to be our government. Okay. So now funding's gone.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
So these are the jewel moments we don't get, because what you just told me is like when I first heard about the youth commission. When I first heard about the youth commission, my mind was blown. I was like, this thing existed? Why did they throw it away?
And no matter how many times you beg for it to come back in every administration, you still ain't got it.
But we can create it.
Yes.
We can create
Can
it.
I just dig a little deeper? What was this civil services rubric, rules? What was it that kept our political elite qualified? And then who got rid of it and how?
Oh,
Listen
God.
up, children.
Oh, that's you're going to have to pitch in here. I know that there was a government reorganization that Governor Farley decided to do where every government employee became unclassified.
I don't even
Okay,
remember
so
that.
the classified was the civil service where there were requirements in writing for qualifications for jobs. That's how your personnel directory and all of that was developed. Governor Farley made this decision. Everybody gets declassified, and then they reorganized. That's when we lost our Department of Culture. Okay, that's when, because you could only have a certain number of departments, and he did that reorganization, and then never reclassified people. So now you had positions open that could be filled by political appointees. And what we began seeing is now political appointees would put people in positions and then classify them as their terms were ending.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Okay? So this has been going on now since the 1990s.
Yes.
So now you have people in their 60s who've been in government who are now classified because when they got hired, they weren't, but now they are. and they've been moving up the ladder, and they never had the qualifications for the job they're in.
See, now this makes sense. Yeah, I
Okay,
understand
so
one now. Yeah.
okay, so now every
They hold
department,
on to
every
what-
department. This is imagine God, I don't want to pick on anybody specifically, but I'd love to. But imagine that you had a mid-level administrative assistant who is now assistant commissioner and has made that over 20 years without having taken advantage of UVI classes or online classes. It's not like there are people that have. I know a young lady who she came in as a political appointee, and every opportunity for education she has taken advantage of. Night school, online school, getting this certificate, that degree. And as she's moved up, she has made sure her credentials are building. She's a rarity.
Yes.
So now you have your degrees. You have your experience, and you are working for someone who now has experience in this system. They've never gone anyplace else. They don't know how to innovate. They don't want to innovate because innovation means they got to go home. So it's not a crab in the barrel as much as it is, I need my job to survive. It's a very personal now. I am going to survive, and I am going to surround myself with people in my position, and I don't care what it takes. It's a very selfish move. So how do we change that system?
Thank you so much for that. Because I grew up, Mikey might not know this, but I grew up hearing the classified, unclassified conversations. So, my grandmother, so politics is always around. And you would grow up hearing, well, yeah, I waited to get classified, and then with this new administration, they might get rid of me and stuff.
Right.
There
There was always a rush to put a class.
that
I remember that.
didn't exist before.
The majority of government employees were, until fairly, classified.
So that it forced you to be educated. Remember I told you CVI and UVI is two different things.
Yeah.
I grew up hearing about how great CVI was. I'm not a big fan of UVI. That's Spikey's alma mater, so I don't knock it too much. Because when I walked it to UVI was not amazing. That's the best way I could say it. When I walked into UVI, I remember they put all of us in the cafeteria. I probably never told you this, Mikey. And they asked us, who doesn't have to take remedial courses? And it was like 6 to 10 of us out of the entire freshman class of 2002. Only 6 to 10 of us did not need to take remedial courses. And I remember having this very hellish time because they couldn't figure out what to do with us. Because the program was built on remedial students.
Wow.
It's facts, not fiction.
No, I know.
So, but I don't hear about that when I hear my aunts and uncles talking about CVI. CVI sounded progressive. You went in, you got your degrees, you got your associates, you got your training, and then you went straight into the workforce. But now I'm seeing where if with the classification system required you could be qualified. And then if you break that, like this.
So imagine though that CVI was fed by the public school system, which was producing those students.
Yes.
Who walked right in and they could read and they could write and they could do all of that. The class of 1959, and I only know this because the graduating class of 1959 from Christensen High School, her grandmother was the headmaster. My father was the class teacher. Class of 1959. 90% of those graduating students went to college. They went to college. Next time you sit down with Stanley Jacobs, ask him about that class because that was his class. All right. And you're looking at young men that had come back from Korea who were back in high school. You're looking at, so the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers. I mean, that generation that was right above me that he taught those were my mentors. And what we had here on St. Croix that was really special is it didn't matter where you came from. I remember my father going to somebody's house because as a first generation Crucian of Puerto Rican descent, the son was expected to stay and work in the business. And my father had to beg for that young man to be able to go to school. And then to be able to go to college, and then to go to law school. And he was the first Crucian Puerto Rican of, born on St. Croix, lawyer on St. Croix, right? So those are the men and women I grew up with.
Teaching has changed tremendously. And so that's why our children right now don't know who they are. And
we're trying to teach them like they're in America, like they're in Texas. They're not in Texas. They're in the Virgin Islands. Teach them our history.
No, and the teachers at that time were not as educated as our teachers today. They went to school.
They weren't as agreed.
Yeah, they went right, but they were grounded in good common sense, and they cared about their students.
Exactly.
Some of the children said the teacher them don't care about them.
No.
They just
you look at the kids count.
The kids count numbers are scary.
Yeah. So
what's crazy is our population, my kind of conversation afterwards. And I am gonna touch on Ricky just now because I think Ricky has been in the battlefield in the trenches. When you look at the kids count data, I went to my church one morning, and I was doing a presentation. I said, "Does anybody read the kids count?" Church on the air. I don't think our population is aware of our population, and some of the crazy data sets that are out there. 30% in poverty, 1 out of
and more in St. Croix and
and the disparity between St. Croix and St. Thomas again is like $20,000 there. And so Mr. Rookie, you've been dealing with young people for so long. Have you seen a positive or negative change, not just at the child level, but at the parental level? And if you could touch on that for us.
I'm going to see, right? 80% of the council, if I do it, I don't say parents.
Right.
I don't see it. Simply because they have a idea that I don't understand, that everything's handout. And every handout, why you go play? What do you want? When you come to my camp, I have forgotten about Rafid. In 1992, he was fixing radio. After he was fixing transmission. I have Micah, a Mexica, he's a contractor now. I can do browser book writer. Their parents was not there. They were free to look at a different picture. Most of the elders then believe in this social world that we've been getting for over years. Go where you make it, man. Look at the housing project. Not a young girl, second generation, third generation in there. Why? Parents was there. Parents didn't motivate them.
I have run into that quite a bit in some of the activities that I've been involved in. I can't even get them to want to get a GED.
Because most of them sit back and they cut a calculates. I think it might sound bad, but a lot of it is being cut. It's a rule of beating for us to get up and start doing as Virgin Islander, setting up we can do for ourselves. We could read. But we sit back and everything is going.
Gone.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is I'm working now with a group of young people. I'm gonna say 60% of them came out of one housing community. And they're 18 and up. So they're, there's a stacking of benefits that happens because if mom has the apartment and her adult children are in the apartment and they qualify for certain things, you're able to, so there's a methodology there that's quite interesting in how to sustain a family. But there's another thing, which is they don't know, a lot of them don't know what it is to be held accountable for their behavior. So you got to show up at this time, be dressed a certain way, act a certain way, and they don't have the skill sets that, because they didn't have to do it in school, they don't have to do it at home. So now a lot of what, so that has to be instilled in addition to the opportunity to earn an income.
To add to that, children that has a mother and a father or two grandmother, really wonderful.
Yeah.
They do better.
Single parents, children are a problem. And I've seen that more and more. Once you have the father, stepfather, grandfather and grandmother, them children do wonderful, But if they don't have that, I don't know if it's economics because I'm going to try to support my child and I don't know the reason for it. But I know that they're the hardest children to get to do anything.
Yeah.
Because what they do, they get my iPad. And that's what we know.
I've seen parents also not be sending their children to school.
Mm-hmm.
No purpose.
No purpose. The department needs to get on that because that's just breeding, the more problems for the community.
And post-COVID. I mean, COVID, a lot of young people couldn't cut the online thing, and a lot of them didn't go back to school. They're now 18. They're now 19, right? So those are kids that, two of the young people in our program, one of them was the smartest kid in his class. There were two of them, and they would compete, right? And I had one of the young people come in as an intern from the engineering program at UVI, and he saw his classmate. He said, "You see him? He is so smart." He couldn't navigate the online programming.
Yeah.
And now, one is off to engineering school, and we're working really hard to get this young man to move forward. But there's a lot of trauma that our children are walking with, and what I've seen here in my experience, my grandmother lived to be 89. She had 12 children. Christmas, Mother's Day, New Year's Eve was at Mama's house. Obligatory to everybody in the family, and you got the family together, every shade, every color, but you had to be to Mama's house. Mama died in 1993. And that tradition died. One auntie said, "Okay, y'all come to our house, but only you, and you," right? It wasn't the big open everybody. And so a few years ago, I go into a business and I see a young man and I said, "You are a such and such." And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "You look just like your father when he was your age." I said,
"You get in trouble with that?"
That was my uncle grandson. He didn't know me. And we were able to make a connection. He and my daughter are the same age.
Wow.
Right? But they didn't grow up together. I know all of my 100 and odd cousins, first cousin them, because I'm coming to Mama. So as that tradition where you went to grandmother's house for Sunday dinner, right? Which was a very Caribbean thing. There was a house where everybody went for dinner. Once grandmother died, who carried on that tradition? So we are now those elders, right? Our parents are gone, and my sister and I, we looked at each other and we said, "Okay, it's us, and we're not doing it." And we're not doing it.
You can't say you're not doing it.
No, we're not doing it. We are not
doing
the Christmas. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing our work in community, but we're not pulling the disparate sectors of the family back together to say, "Hey, I have a cousin. Every time we see each other, we got to do a beach day. We got to do a beach day." I'm like, "Okay, you got my number," but we don't do it.
I think it ties back to what we were talking about earlier about how You know, you're saying the families from way back is not the families today. You still have to say parents, you see a lot of single mothers, and you have a stepfather, it's just a
Yeah.
man.
And sometimes I mean, sometimes the parents are working and the grandparents are working, trying to make ends meet, and so the children are kind of left there. If they got a tablet, that's what they're on, or they out hanging out, and you know.
That's what I always
with
say.
friends.
I'm blessed because it was dark. It seemed when you talk about it, like Christmas was always a big thing at my house. So my grandma,
Yeah.
it is say,
Everybody come.
yeah,
It's Christmas.
Yeah.
He did, but that Christmas thing now we tell you because that Christmas thing, Christmas now.
No. I mean, and so
Right.
maybe the challenge to the young people, right, is go to your auntie them, you know, or grandmother, and say, this Christmas,
We're coming over.
we're doing a family thing. And we know it's a lot of work. We're going to help. I mean,
Yeah,
because
but
please,
bring-
you know, cooking for 100 people is a lot if you got a big family. But how do we revive? That's a piece of our culture that's family. How do we revive that?
family?
Right, right.
That's a hard question because I watch a young man like this man and like pour out his heart with the difficulties of being a father, but you know things happen in your life. Hard to watch somebody they're funny, they're a comedian online, but when they talk about something, they remove that veil and show you that life really does be life in for them, and it's hard when you want to deal with the mother of your children, you want to deal with your kids because you want better for them, better for yourself. I think in this community, the Virgin Islands, we are very even when you talk about St. Croix, we're fractured in communities, we're also fractured in homes.
In
Yes,
families.
very much
Very
so.
much. I think you could talk to this how it's always family against family, brother fighting brother killing brother, cousin fighting against cousin in the street. I think that's an issue we have in St. Croix, especially where we are fractured in our communities. Like, you know, if you use this community, that community, we walk into, we love each other. But then you come into the family, it's like a whole body of confusion within itself. I think that's also weird. Our generations have just broken apart. Because how you explain it is like perfectly of how you will hear young people talk about. Like, you to break the rules. I don't know about my house for Christmas. And he was shocked. I brought people over to my house. I was like, they were shocked. It's like, you bring the away. I said, yeah, it's a holiday. It's like, it's that love and that nurturing. And I think that's what like my grandparents and my mom have tried to convey to me. When they tell you these stories about how they would go like this falls in this holiday season and you know they're gone now, but to keep those traditions alive and to give you memories and joy and love and to remove that stress and sorrow. The stress and sorrow won't be there tomorrow, but to be amongst each other, I think is very important. And we've had a really great conversation. We have some real gems. Like my mind is blown by so much that I think we have to bring the group back again. But I want to thank you, Ms. Frandelle Gerard, because you always bring such an insightful back to it. To that,
She's brought things that I forgot.
Dr. Christensen, first time on the podcast, we are just so honored to have you. A political juggernaut has done so much amazing things in the communities, with communities in the BI. And then we have the man himself in the trenches, Jackson. Like, I would say thank you to Miss Frandelle Gerard because you were looking for a male. You didn't just want to have ladies and be unfair. But we wanted to have somebody that is like a man in the community doing something. So I think I need to give Ricky Jackson his flowers because he's still doing his camp. He's still dealing with the people in the trenches, seeing the community. We've had people like VLA who talked about this someone, but we've gotten to see from a different perspective for somebody that continues to do it. So I have to say thank you to doing that. Keep doing what you're doing. Like God bless you for that. And I will say,
He needs health.
yeah, help. We have to come together as a community, keep pushing, and the conversations can't wait the wisdom down. The wisdom is there. Yeah, okay.
Call us. Call us.
Yeah, so definitely. And then listen,
Yes.
Listen.
Yes.
So this has been Dialogue 4 Days. Means Michael, we've got Richard, we're joined by an amazing group of elders, and they fight down in the comments. Maybe see you guys on the next episode.